All right, now we are cutting out our Jason mask. And I actually had just leftover dough, so I think this is probably gonna be a disaster in the making because this is probably not gonna spread and this side's gonna spread, but we'll see what happens. I traced this on my iPad and cut out the mask. You can also use a printer and just print out a photo and cut it out and use that as your template. And I'm using my kitchen X-Acto knife to trim around this guy's face. I'm not cutting out the eyes yet because this is gonna probably spread in the oven, so I'm gonna see how big it ends up getting and then I'll cut the eyes out afterward. All right, into the oven at 350. I'm gonna start it at 10 minutes. It's probably gonna need more like 12 to 15, but we'll see what it looks like at 10. My mask is completely cooled and I used my projector to place where the eyes should be, and I lightly sketched them with my X-Acto knife. And I'm also cutting off the little nubs because it did look like when my cookies spread, they're not quite in the place that I wanted them to be. So I cut those off and now I'm just going to cut the eye holes out. Once you have the outer edge of the eyes cut, make an X inside of the eye hole and you can easily push out the cookie in the middle. And I'm gonna use another little piece of cookie to make the nose. If you can see from this photo, the nose is raised a little bit. So I'm going to trim a small circle cookie down a little bit to get that effect. Stick on the nose piece with a little bit of icing and then flood the entire cookie in white. At this point, I realized I have a round sort of clown nose, which is scary, but not the kind of scary we're going for. So I just pulled the nose piece off and trimmed it down, and while the icing's still wet, just re-ice around the nose and blend it in together. Before my icing dries completely, I want to make these little indentations in the mask. So the icing's been set for between 20 and 30 minutes at this point, and I'm using the back of a paintbrush and gently pushing into my cookie wherever the holes are in my reference photo. And as always, I'm starting with a smaller paintbrush, and I can increase to a bit of a larger paintbrush if I do want to make the holes a little bit bigger. Once the holes are set, let this dry completely and we will move on to painting. For painting, I'm going to use a mix of dust colors and gel colors. I'm starting with the Sugar Art Elite colors in brown and black. I have my reference photo off to the side and I'm looking at any spots that have very dark brown, and I'm dusting wherever I see those. And for dusting, I put a little bit of water on my brush, and then you can see I take almost all of it off on a paper towel, and then I tap my brush into the dust and add a little bit at a time. I found that dusting really gets into the crevices of the icing, so it's not as easy for me to take off. So I start with lighter colors and then I build up with it. As I'm looking at the reference photo, I'm seeing some ivory and yellow colors. So I have some ivory gel color I'm going to add to the mask, and also a little bit of buttercup to really dinge this up a bit more. And I'm going to add a little bit of Americolor Bright White to my yellows so that they're a bit opaque and they'll be a little bit more noticeable on the mask. I'm using the ivory mixed with a little bit of white to go over the majority of the mask, and I am blending it right on top of my brown dust colors. I keep using my reference photo to see where there are different patches of brown and yellow and add accordingly. The image I was using is a little bit darker around the eye holes, so I'm using some black dust and gently tapping it into my wet color and blending. I noticed between dust and gels the colors weren't blending very well, so I have the Sugar Art Elite White color, and I'm going to use that wherever the colors are kind of harsh and not blended in, and use this to blend them together. To give the appearance the mask is curved, it looks like there's a bit of a shadow around the edge, so I'm using the black dust to go around the majority of the mask, making some areas darker where I see it in my reference photo. Now that the dust has settled, we want to paint on the 3 red triangles, 1 above the eyes and nose, and then 2 on the sides of the nose. I'm just freehanding it with some red food coloring mixed with a little bit of water, and starting small and expanding if need be. the last steps of our mask, we really want those little indentations to pop, so I'm using some black dust to place inside each one of the crevices so that they really stand out. And then I'm going to use the back of my X-Acto knife to scratch up my mask a little bit. Now it's time to scare my husband or eat my cookie. We'll see what kind of mood I'm in. If you like this video, please share it and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming Halloween fun.